Irish woman Jill Meagher was last seen in the early hours of Saturday morning. Police hold serious concerns for her welfare.
It's been more than 40 hours now and Thomas Meagher still hasn't seen or heard from his wife.
She's my best friend. She's this isn't something she doesn't do. So, yeah. Excuse me. Sorry.
A huge social media campaign, which was launched after the disappearance of Jill Meagher, was also of extreme help to them in trying to work out what happened to Ms. Meagher.
Drogheda, County Louth, Ireland. Gillian McKeon is born in October 30th, 1982, father George, mother Edith, and a younger brother Michael. She grows up in Termonfeckin, a small coastal village north of Drogheda. She is funny, curious, loud in the right way. When she is around 9, her father George gets work in Perth, Western Australia. The family relocates. Jill attends Bull Creek Primary School and then Rossmoyne Senior High School. In 1996, the McKeons return to Ireland. Jill attends Drogheda Grammar School and St. Oliver's Community College, then earns a Bachelor of Arts from University College Dublin. After graduating, she works at RTE, Ireland's national broadcaster. At university, she meets Tom Meagher from Cabinteely in South Dublin. On 28th July 2008, they marry in Wicklow, Ireland. In 2009, they move to Melbourne together and settle in Brunswick, inner northern suburb, terrace houses, cafes, and bars along Sydney Road. Jill joins the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, working in communications and occasionally on air at 774 ABC Radio Melbourne. Her colleagues describe her as someone who stands out without trying. Her mother calls her messy and clumsy. Her friends say she is the funniest person they know. She is 29 years old. She lives 500 meters from her local bar. Friday evening, 21st September, 2012. After work on Friday, Jill goes out with colleagues from ABC Melbourne. They start at the Brunswick Green Bar on Sydney Road, then move to Bar Etiquette, also on Sydney Road. Just weeks earlier, Jill had flown to Perth to visit her father George, who had been unwell. She had come back to Melbourne. She was still thinking about him. At around 1:30 a.m. on 22nd September, Jill leaves Bar Etiquette and begins the short walk home, roughly 500 meters along a street she knows well. She calls her brother Michael. They talk briefly about their father's health. The connection is poor. She hangs up expecting him to call back. He tries 3 times. Her phone rings out. Jill Meagher does not arrive home. Tom wakes, and Jill is not there. He calls her phone. No answer. He contacts her friends. Nobody has seen her. He walks the streets of Brunswick in the early morning, alone, looking. He later describes calling police as confronting. To say the words, "My wife is missing," he says, "guts you." Her disappearance is treated as a missing person case. Police begin searching the area around Sydney Road. The Meaghers' flat is searched. Their car is taken for testing. Jill's ABC colleagues mobilize on social media immediately.
Tom, what are you going through?
Hell. It's just devastating, but just trying to push on as much as possible.
What's keeping you going?
Just hope somebody sees something, or she just walks through the door.
Do you still think could happen today?
I have to. Yeah.
A Facebook page, Help Us Find Jill Meagher, is created on September 23rd. A poster campaign goes up across Brunswick. The page reaches over 100,000 likes within 5 days.
Irish woman Jill Meagher was last seen in the early hours of Saturday morning. Police hold serious concerns for her welfare.
It's been more than 40 hours now and Thomas Meagher still hasn't seen or heard from his wife.
She's my best friend. She's this isn't something she doesn't do. So, yeah. Excuse me. Sorry.
29-year-old Jill, an Irish national employed at the ABC, was out drinking with friends on a typical Friday night at her local Bar Etiquette on Sydney Road, Brunswick. It was around 2 a.m. when she decided to leave and make the 5-minute walk home.
She was with another group of friends, the same group of friends there, and then the last person to see her got in a cab and she was going to go walk home, and she hasn't been seen since.
Friends say Jill would often take a shortcut through this laneway off Sydney Road near Safeway. Police are now reviewing CCTV cameras.
I have a feeling that somebody did something to her, or she's, you know, I just don't know where she is. I'd love to just know where she is or what happened. Or...
On 24th September, Victoria Police Homicide Squad formally takes over. A missing person case is now a homicide inquiry. That same day, Jill's handbag is found in a laneway near Hope Street, Brunswick. Police are immediately suspicious. The area had already been searched, and the bag was not there before. Inside, her work badge, her name, her photograph. A local resident had found it, taken it home, and on seeing the news about Jill, returned it to where they found it. An employee of the Duchess Boutique, a bridal shop on Sydney Road near Hope Street, contacts Victoria Police. They have CCTV footage from the night Jill disappeared. Police receive the video and release it publicly the same day. The footage shows Jill Meagher walking along Sydney Road at around 1:38 a.m. in her blue dress. A man in a blue hoodie is ahead of her. He stops. She reaches him. They speak briefly outside the entrance to a laneway. At one point, she raises her mobile phone toward him. Then, she turns into the lane. She does not come out. The nation watches the footage. These are the last known images of Jill Meagher. Alongside the boutique footage, police cross-reference CCTV from other cameras along the route and begin tracking the movement of Jill's mobile phone. Her phone and another phone travel the same path north, along the Tullamarine Freeway toward Gisborne, 50 kilometers northwest of Melbourne. Jill's phone does not make the return journey. The other phone does. Investigators then identify one piece of evidence that locks it together. A vehicle captured passing through a toll point on Moreland Road at 4:40 in the morning. At the exact time Jill's phone made that journey north. The camera captures the car clearly. The investigators have a face and a vehicle. They are now looking for the man in the blue hoodie. Victoria Police arrive at a residential address in Coburg. They arrest a 41-year-old man. His name is Adrian Ernest Bailey. He is the man in the blue hoodie. His vehicle matches the toll camera footage. He is taken in and questioned. He denies everything. In the words of Justice Jeffrey Nettle, who will later sentence him, Bailey tells a farrago of lies about his movements that night. But the evidence does not move. The CCTV, the phone tracking, the toll camera, the vehicle. Under sustained interrogation, Bailey breaks. He confesses. At approximately 1:38 a.m. on Sydney Road, Bailey had been watching Jill walking alone. He approached her near the entrance to a lane off Hope Street. He tried to kiss her and touch her. Jill stepped back and slapped him across the face. Bailey told Professor Ogloff he lost it. He became outraged that she had rejected him. He was physically larger and stronger. He grabbed her and dragged her into the laneway. He raped her. After the rape, Jill fought back. She hit Bailey with her mobile phone and told him she was going to call the police. Bailey then placed his hands around her neck. He held her down with his hand on the lower part of her neck and maintained pressure until she stopped moving. He told police it took no more than a minute. He said, in his own words, that because he was not a small person and was fairly strong, he should have known better. After killing her, Bailey left Jill's body in the laneway. He drove home, collected his second car and a shovel, returned, loaded Jill's body into the boot, drove north on the Tullamarine Freeway, and dug a shallow grave at the side of Black Hill Road near Gisborne South. He buried her and drove home. The rape was savage and degrading. It took place over time. That night, Bailey leads police out of Melbourne and north along the freeway. He brings them to Black Hill Road near Gisborne South. He points to a patch of ground beside the road. Police dig. They find Jill Meagher. At 2 a.m. on 28 September, Bailey is formally charged with rape and murder.
And that man is 41-year-old Adrian Bailey from Coburg.
Do we know how this arrest came about, Gloria? Was it as a result of the release of the CCTV footage?
Well, police are saying that the CCTV footage was a vital piece of evidence that actually helped move forward the case. And they've also said that the huge social media campaign, which was launched after the disappearance of Jill Meagher, was also of extreme help to them in trying to work out what happened to Ms. Meagher.
An out-of-sessions hearing lasts 90 seconds. He is remanded in custody. While awaiting trial, he attempts suicide. He does not succeed. When Bailey's identity becomes public, a second shock follows. Not just that he did it, but that the system knew exactly who he was and let him walk anyway. His criminal history begins in 1990 when he attempts to rape a 17-year-old girl walking home from a bus stop. Months later, he abducts and attempts to rape a teenage hitchhiker. He is convicted in 1991 and jailed for 5 years with a minimum of 3. He is released after 22 months. In September 2000, he begins raping women in Melbourne's St Kilda district. 5 victims across several months. In April 2002, he pleads guilty and is sentenced to 11 years, minimum 8. In 2009, still in prison, he completes a sex offender rehabilitation program. In 2010, he is released on parole. On 12th August 2011, 13 months before Jill's murder, he king hits a man in Geelong. He pleads guilty to assault and is placed on bail pending an appeal against the sentence. He is now simultaneously on parole and on bail. His parole officer is informed of the Geelong assault. No action is taken to cancel his parole. He is not returned to prison. It also emerges that Bailey's DNA had been collected by Victoria Police after a 2001 sexual assault. It was never entered into the state's DNA database. Had it been, investigators could have identified him within hours of Jill's disappearance, not days. By the time he kills Jill Meagher, Bailey has committed approximately 20 rapes or attempted rapes across 23 years. He has been through courts, through prison, through rehabilitation, and through the parole board. He was on the street anyway. Tom Meagher later read the 2002 court documents from Bailey's rape convictions. He said he literally vomited. I don't know how anyone can read those documents and let this man back on the streets, ever. 2 days after Jill's body is found, Melbourne photographer Philip Werner organizes a public march. Approximately 30,000 people walk down Sydney Road, the same street Jill walked home on. They carry flowers. They hold signs. Some cry. Some are furious. It becomes something bigger than grief. It is a public declaration that women should be safe on their own streets, and that when they are not, the question of why belongs to all of us. Edith McKeon publicly thanks Melbourne for its support.
Could have been my daughters.
To stand up and be counted as peaceful citizens.
She should be remembered for making a difference for women all over the world.
This shouldn't be happening in a beautiful country like ours.
Rally through Brunswick came as Jill's mother made her own emotional journey. 10 Sarah Arbo was there and joins us now. Sarah, you've witnessed quite a remarkable day.
I certainly have, and a very emotional one, really, from start to finish. Earlier today, we saw tens of thousands take to Sydney Road here in Brunswick in Melbourne's in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, simply to pay their respects to Jill Meagher and the life she lost. But what was perhaps more remarkable was when her mother made the journey over here, all the way from Perth with other members of her family. Now, they visited the vigil that was set up here by members of the public who don't even themselves know Jill. There are hundreds of flowers and cards. Mrs. McKeon went through some of those cards, really taking in the words that have been left there. She was also compelled to address some of the members of the public. They wanted themselves to offer their condolences to her, and they were united in a brief hug and some soft words spoken to one another. Now, Edith McKeon herself wanted to thank not only the media, but the police, of course, for their investigation, and really just the public for their support. Here's what she had to say to 10 News earlier.
I would like to thank the huge support here in Melbourne. It's just been unbelievable. Just thank you. Simply thank you, and I hope they'll put more cameras in here, keep people safe, and just thank you, everybody for all your support. Okay.
A candlelight vigil is held. On one single day, 28 September, around 12 million Twitter timelines reference Jill Meagher. A second march, organized by the Reclaim the Night movement, takes place on October 20th. About 3,000 more people walk. The service is private. The park is closed to the public. The family arrives: Tom, George, Edith, Michael. A BC colleagues arrive by bus. Several wear colorful shoes in tribute to what Edith calls Jill's love of crazy shoes. The service begins at 10:30 a.m. to come back by Depeche Mode. George McKeon reads from a card he and Edith sent their daughter in 2004, a card she kept all those years. Please know that you are an important part of my life. Though we can't be together right now, we are together in our thoughts and memories. Goodbye, Jillian. Goodbye. A photo montage plays to her favorite songs. Make Your Own Kind of Music by Mama Cass Elliot. Girl from the North Country by Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash. Non, Je ne regrette rien by Edith Piaf. Outside, Celine Dion's Fly plays on a small stereo. 29 white doves are released, one for each year of her life. Tom, George, and Edith release them. George watches them circle overhead and waves. White ribbon wristbands are given to every mourner. A memorial mass is held at St. Peter's Church in Drogheda, the town she grew up near. Father Oliver Devine, who married her and Tom in 2008, speaks. He remembers her as a thinker, a writer of poetry, a person who wanted to make a difference. On 21st October, a smaller service is held at St. Dominic's Park, Drogheda. A tree is planted in her memory. Her poem, Dedication to a Friend, is read aloud. April 5th, 2013. Adrian Bailey pleads guilty to the rape and murder of Jill Meagher. He had initially indicated he would fight the charges. June 11th, 2013, pre-sentencing hearing. Justice Nettle lifts a suppression order. Bailey's full criminal history is made public for the first time. Life imprisonment for the murder. 15 years for the rape. Non-parole period, 35 years. Justice Nettle states that had Bailey not pleaded guilty, he would have sentenced him to life with no parole at all.
Strictly friends and family inside the service. Jill's parents united in grief with her husband.
She was so precious to us and we loved her so much, and the light she brought to our lives almost 30 years ago will shine on us forever.
ABC colleagues among the mourners. The service, a celebration of life. Friends turned tears of grief into tears of laughter, even standing up and dancing. Jill was learning to be a clown, her ambition to write her own comedy series. Friends said she was clumsy and goofy, but always had style.
She's the only person I've ever encountered who has actually literally slipped on a banana skin. And she was proud of it.
Jill's mother Edith spoke to the marchers after a minute's silence was held. She thanked the people of Melbourne for the support they had shown the family during the investigation and throughout the aftermath of Jill's death.
Jill lived a life full of family, friends, and her beloved Tom. Jill was brutally raped and murdered and is never coming back.
Bailey's appeal against the minimum term is dismissed in September 2013 in under 10 minutes. The publicity around Jill Meagher's case brings forward women who had been attacked by Bailey before and stayed silent, out of shame, fear, or the belief they would not be believed. 3 trials in 2014 and 2015. His additional victims include 2 sex workers and a Dutch backpacker. By March 2015, Bailey has been convicted of crimes against 12 people. May 2015, an additional 18 years. Non-parole extended from 35 to 43 years. July 2016, 1 conviction is overturned on appeal. Sentence reduced by 3 years. Adrian Ernest Bailey will eligible for parole in 2055. He will be 83 years old. The grief that followed Jill Meagher's murder quickly became something else. A hard, public examination of how the system that was supposed to manage dangerous men had placed one on Sydney Road that night. Bailey had served 8 years of an 11-year sentence for 5 rapes. He went through prison rehabilitation. He was reviewed by the Adult Parole Board of Victoria and released in 2010. 13 months before Jill's murder, he assaulted a man in Geelong. His parole officer knew. The board knew. Nobody canceled his parole. He remained free. His DNA from a 2001 sexual assault was held by Victoria Police, but never entered into the state's DNA database. a basic administrative failure that cost days of investigation, possibly more. In June 2013, Victoria overhauled its parole laws. Under the new framework, breaching parole carries penalties of up to 3 months imprisonment and a $4,200 fine. Police can formally act on any parole breach. Violent offenders automatically return to custody if the breach is serious. Premier Dennis Napthine. There is no doubt the system failed Jill Meagher. Under the changes we've already introduced, the offender would have been back in jail, not on the streets. In August 2013, former High Court Justice Ian Kalinin recommends 23 further changes to the Victorian parole system. He acknowledges the reforms as significant and entirely positive, but notes they are still in early days. What Jill Meagher's case did to Australia was make something visible that had always been there. Tom remembers his wife. I couldn't ask for more loyalty, happiness, and fun. Goodbye, my beautiful funny girl. I'll love you forever. Slanab Haile, Mo Chara. Australia already had sobering statistics before September 2012. Approximately 1 woman killed by a current or former partner every week. The majority of violence against women committed not by strangers in laneways, but by people the women knew. Partners, acquaintances, family members. The Reclaim the Night marches continued. Victoria's Parliament heard statements in Jill Meagher's name. A community safety forum was held at Brunswick Town Hall in November 2012. In November 2014, Tom Meagher returned briefly to Australia to speak for the White Ribbon Movement.
Do you think that the justice system failed your wife and yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course it did. I think the primary role of a parole board should be to protect the innocent. Very secondary to that would be rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is still a thing we need in our justice system, of course it is, but it's not. A person like that, they have to do a risk assessment of, and the number one priority of that should be to protect the innocent, and that's what they didn't do in his case, and that's why Jill's not here.
How did you feel when you found out that he had served 2 previous prison sentences for sexual assaults, multiple sexual assaults, threats to kill, abductions, the whole thing, and for the last sentence, he served less than half of the maximum penalty for 16 counts and 5 victims?
I felt furious, and I'm still furious at it. Whenever I hear anybody say it, whenever I read it, my blood boils, because it sends a disturbing message. This man is unrepentantly evil. He's been let off too many times by our justice system, and he's just it's obviously a complete menace, and it sends out a really dangerous message to society. I think if you do this, I mean, I'm aware that his previous victims in the previous case before Jill were sex workers, and I'll never be convinced that that had nothing to do with the leniency of his sentence, which, as I said, sends a very disturbing message, because if we say what it says to women is, be careful what you do, because if we don't like what you do, you won't get justice. And then what it says to people like Bailey is not don't rape, but be careful who you rape.
Whether any of it is enough is a question Australia has not finished answering. In November 2020, Bailey's mother broke her silence to give an interview Abu Ye's son's case. She explained that prior to Jill's murder, she tried to tell the police that she believed he was dangerous, and the police failed to heed her warning and take the appropriate action.
Well, you're a very powerful voice to put to it, because you're coming from the other side of it. And I was about to say about your son that I thought it was important people know about his history and what he'd done, because the system failed. He shouldn't have been on the streets.
And let me tell you, Neil, I went high and I told them that I had concerns. And nobody listened to me. Nobody. His parole officer didn't listen to me. I went into the city to an office, in the justice system. Nobody listened to me.
This is before. Is this before he killed Jill?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is. Nobody listens. We need to listen to these voices. We need to listen to the victims' voices. Just because they're not with us anymore doesn't mean they're less important and their voices shouldn't be heard.
I've been really humbled by the support of the Australian public, the
tireless efforts of the police and all the friends and family who've put their lives on hold to help us out.
Ashes rest in Perth with her family. A tree was planted in her memory in Drogheda. Her poem, Dedication to a Friend, has been read at memorials in 2 countries. She never finished Ulysses.